So welcome everyone back to Mastering the Life with yours truly, Stevie Jones. I am the National Director of Miss Supranational Trinidad and Tobago. And with me in this sit-down session this evening and for your entertainment, and to get to know a little bit more about what goes on behind the curtain, behind the scenes of pageantry and in the lives of our delegates, is the glowing goddess beauty from Valencia in east of Trinidad, the wonderful and dynamic Jhenique Joseph. Jhenique, welcome.
Hi, Stephen. Pleasant. Good night. And how are you?
I am very good. I am loving this look. You're giving me a mixture of Erica Badu and Ella Andel. I am loving it.
Oh, thank you. I am honored. I am so honored.
You look amazing. So how have you been? I know you and I have not seen each other in a while because you've been doing other things, other sessions with other facilitators on the team. How have you been since the last time we saw each other?
I haven't missed a beat, I can tell you that.
I know.
And yes. But um life has been up it's been ups and downs, but no doubt, I'm getting I'm having a handle on things
Yeah.
for now. For
Yeah.
now. I'll try to control and manage everything. Through the grace of
Fantastic.
God.
Well, by no other grace to know, but by God's grace.
Right.
Listen, so you are one of the young women in the pageant that I think a lot of people, every group has what you call an underdog. And
Right.
I don't want to say, I'm not saying that you are an underdog or that you are the underdog because, we are incrementally getting to learn more about you ladies and, what you're built of. But I feel like every time I see you, I'm seeing a different face of Jhenique. Where does that versatility come from?
Honestly speaking, Stevie, I honestly believe that it comes naturally. Jhenique is ever since from younger times. It's mind baffling to me because when thrown in different situations, I rise above. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but based on my observation, wow,
Hmm.
like it's I have always been flexible and versatile. So
Right. And you are able to almost track your own progress, yeah?
correct, most
Nice.
definitely.
Nice. Uh, it, I don't know, have you been able to, I know it's a short period, but have you been able to identify any areas of your life that being involved in the pageant, in this particular pageant, has really caused you to stop and look deeper into it?
Most definitely, because we are no strangers about the situation that we have been forced into due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It
Mm-hmm.
has That situation has pushed us beyond our limits, as do myself, right?
Yeah.
So, no doubt, I had to be in tune with my emotions.
Hmm.
I had to be able to identify, where certain feelings were coming from, as well as being able to channel that into something positive, you
Sure.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely has. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm listening to you, and I just I find it so remarkable that even sitting in this live and bearing yourself so vulnerably to the public, that you actually have the courage to say that. Because I think a lot of people think that young women in pageantry are not even human.
No, on the contrary,
Yeah.
because going into this competition, right? Going into a competition like this, it's no, it's no walk in the park. I got excuse, I got a rude awakening because most persons have the perception that pageants, pageant girls or pageantry competitions on the whole is all about the glitz and the glam, as did I at one point in time. But now I am in the midst of it. You know, I had
Mhm.
to prepare intellectually. I had to do my research. I had to research what is the organization about, its entails, you know. I had to backtrack everything and come up to speed, so to speak.
Right, right. That's interesting because I know sometimes we get involved in things, and this is just a general conversation. You know, we jump into a relationship, or you start a new job, or you join a new club, and we do things so hastily because on the outside, on the surface, it looks attractive, but quote unquote, and I hope people can understand the language we're speaking here. When you
I'm
really
sure
when you get to know it, it's not what you expected, you know? So
it
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No, go ahead,
No,
love.
it happens to the best of us. And
Sure.
going into this competition, it really opened my eyes to see you don't just jump into stuff. You go and really sit and think things through. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
persons when I meet persons and I mention to them, I joined a pageant and stuff. They watch me like I'm totally crazy. No, like they do, because they're like, you're not watching the news, you're not seeing what's going on.
Where you
But
going?
yes, but the reality of it is, listen, the reality of it is, even though you're faced with a situation, that should not stop you from your dreams. It should not stop you from pushing through to achieve what it is you truly desire.
Yeah,
For
of course.
example, we have a lot of persons who, under this circumstances of the COVID pandemic, they
Hmm.
really showed their strength in pushing through and overcome it.
Welcoming, right.
For example, I don't want to toot your horn, but we have locally here the Miss Supranational franchise. For example, they they started the screening process and had successful training sessions, and I am one of the delegates. We have persons overcoming certain situations that they're facing. There's a lockdown, but that didn't stop the organization, and it's actually the only country. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is the only country that actually started the screening process and proceeded with the steps needed be to
Right.
start the competition, right? So that really, I really want to commend you guys for not listening to the naysayers or the critics, and just doing what you thought was best.
Yeah.
And another fine example we have internationally, that was just locally. Internationally, we have the Congolese, the 29-year-old, and if
Yes.
the 3D fashion. So hello, it
Hi.
speaks volumes.
Yes.
It has evolved
Hmm.
the fashion industry, that whole industry. Not
Hmm.
to not to scare the models, not that you won't be booking jobs or anything like that. It's just to show that things can be done still.
Yes.
You don't have to put things on pause or hold. Look, it's her collection. That's probably her way of, her bread and butter. She's
Hmm.
probably the uh, I can't get the word right now. Please forgive.
No, that's fine.
Oh, right. She's probably the breadwinner in her
Hmm.
family, so she
Hmm.
probably doesn't have an option to wait
Yes.
or to file something to get a grant or whatever the situation is. So she overcame,
Hmm.
and it's phenomenal. It is.
Yeah, I hear that. And thank you for, affirming the work that we do. And I know that many of our super cousins, so to speak, our
Right.
super family directors across the world, um, you know, we have so much to be grateful for, Jhenique.
Correct.
And we can list it because they're so surmountable. But some of our national directors, like in our national directors group, it's sometimes so very painful when they message to say, guys, please pray for us because the situation is so bad in our country because their numbers are spiking every 24 hours by the thousands. And I mean, we have 1.3 million people here, 1.3, 1.4. And a lot of our super family directors come from countries whose population is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million people.
Surpassing.
Right? And this is their reality. And I remember when we started, well, just to say as a premise, we actually started preparing for the launch of Supra 2020, even before the advent of the pandemic. And then boom, she comes. But I say that to share that when we started rolling things out slowly, and you remember what that was like in the beginning.
Correct.
I remember seeing and hearing other super countries say, "Oh my God, we're seeing what you guys are doing. You know, we're going to follow suit." And it really was simply to say that people needed something to hold on to,
Correct.
some kind of element of hope, and
And it just so happened that you started the trend.
girl. No, but I think it's also part of my survival skill. Like in the moment you're not thinking of starting a trend, you do it because you feel moved, you feel called to do it, and you guys came into our lives, and we were like, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to fall up and die, or are we going to find a way to still impact and influence the lives of these young women, whether there is a pageant or there is no pageant, So I want you rather to share
Right.
with your viewers here on this live. And guys, just in case you're just joining us, we're chatting with Jhenique Joseph, our Miss Supranational Trans Tobago representative from the community of Valencia in East Trinidad. And Jhenique is one of those young women who, in my opinion, in the short space of time that I've known her, continues to defy so many odds. And I think when she begins to tell her story throughout her year in the pageant and even thereafter, you really get to know exactly what I'm talking about. So please feel free to follow her and to become a part of her journey. But Jhenique, we're talking about, in the context of pageantry,
Correct.
how all of our lives have been affected. The creative industry in particular has been hit with a very, 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 very grievous blow. Entrepreneurs, sole traders, small businesses, young businesses, people who probably just finished university or finished college and probably were thinking about maybe traveling abroad to start a new job, and all of that was just put on hold. What do you say to young people who may be having difficulty figuring out what's the next step in their life?
Okay. My advice to persons who have been affected by the COVID, you had big plans, you had businesses, you had a lot of stuff you were aspiring to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish. However, use this time wisely to probably reassess, because sometimes everything is a blessing
Yeah,
in disguise,
yeah.
so to speak. I remember, just to use me as an example, I have a friend, she wanted us to travel because we like traveling, and
Mm-hmm.
we really wanted to do around the world tour or something like that. It had a special going. And look what happened.
Hmm.
Who knows? I don't want to focus more on the negative, but you could probably utilize the money to invest wisely instead of
Right.
traveling. or for businesses. You could use that time for business owners to probably readjust your organization. I'm sure it probably has loopholes or stuff that needs to be rectified. Use the time
Sure.
to, yeah, to reassess, go back to the drawing board, see how can I um uplift my employees, how can I help them, how can I make them more comfortable so
Yeah.
that they work better for me.
Sure.
From employees' point of view, you can use the time to work on an extra skill,
Mm.
you know,
Yes, of course.
widen. Yeah. Use it. You can use the time to do a lot of meditating, self self adjusting. You know, there's so much that could be done.
Yeah, correct. That's part of the leveling up that we've been talking about, you know. And a lot of the times the leveling up really starts with self, you know. I know for me, because I'm usually a very active person, a very busy person, this has been a time of great rest for me. And I've struggled with that because I almost at one point started to feel guilty that I'm resting, you know, and it's because you're just not accustomed doing that. And you know, there is that inner saboteur that wants to tell you, um, no, you need to get up and you need to do something. But in truth and in fact, when we share with you girls in your training that we are looking at a more integrated approach to training, I have to take a dose of that medication as well, because I
Yeah,
can't be teaching my children one thing, but I'm doing something else. So I myself have to take a more integrated approach to how I take care of myself, how I run the company, what do I aspire to, what type of systems do I need to revisit, reevaluate, who are some of the people I may need to shed from my life that were dead skin,
correct.
so that I can make room for others who are more positive, more inspirational, the people who will hold me up when I don't have the courage and the energy to do that. And that's a part but it's a part of maturing.
It
And
actually is.
I think COVID has awakened, not that it's changed anything, except that for me personally, it's awakened this sense that I need to start taking responsibility for my own life and not depend on other people, so to speak. Not that I've ever done that before, but it's very easy to become dependent on a system that has been one way all the time, you know?
Yep, I can relate.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
I remember, I want to share this with the audience here this evening.
Sure.
I remember when you came to your interview.
Right.
Listen to me, we were dying with laughter. I could tell you now, we were dying because here is this girl from Valencia. I mean, we knew that you were from Valencia because when you applied, we saw it on your application.
Correct. Yes.
And I'm going to be a drama queen, right? So I'm going to reenact it. So
Go right ahead.
the camera comes on, and here is Jhenique in a full baby pink dress, and it looked as though it had ruffles, and she's
Right.
sitting at a cat corner like this, very just like that, very poised and prim and proper. And of course the camera is all how it's sticking. And I'm like, Jesus, what is happening? What is happening? Jesus, fix it quick. Fix it quick. And the funny thing is, I don't even know if you realize that when your camera froze, it
Oh,
it froze with you in that position like this. Ah! Listen to me, and the panel, the preliminary round panel, we were dying with laughter. And in my mind, I was like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. And then to make matters worse, it was time for Jhenique to walk in her swimsuit. I exposing your business. And so
that's okay.
Jhenique, she switches out of her grand ball gown into her swimsuit and prop up the phone. I don't know where Jhenique prop up this phone and walk down the side of the house and stand up and she posed like she on a runway and walks all the, and listen, you're seeing the sky in the background and the trees swaying. You see the galvanized on the roof. And we are sitting down there and listen to me. I am trying not to burst out in spontaneous laughter during your interview. And I thought to myself, so we were finished with it and you were scored. And I mean, the rest is history because you're here.
Right.
And I remember one of the things that we all spoke about on the panel, and it's important, and I want your fans to hear this. You were one of the few girls who, from the very get-go, you did not have the best situation and the best scenario and the best of anything. And I think what stood out to us very authentically is that you were unafraid and unashamed to show yourself in your bare surroundings. The bricks in the background, the trees in the back, the sky up above, the galvanized roof, the gravel in the yard. And I thought to myself, there is something beautiful in that. And more than that there was something even more beautiful in the fact that this girl, aware of her limitations, still showed up.
Correct.
And even this evening, I mean, look at where you're sitting down, in the middle of the people road.
But you know the police is working because they were in the background.
So I find it, Jhenique, I thought I would need to mention to you, if I have not told you before, that I find it quite admirable that you, every single time we meet you and in different ways, that you show up. And I think, to me, that's part of a super quality that we talk about when we talk about what's your super quality. One of the things that we look for in an ambassador, in a representative, is someone who, despite their situations and in spite of their circumstance, they show up and they show out.
And if anyone that's out there has to do interviews or anything via virtually, and you know you don't have the best background, you don't have the best of anything, just make, as I mentioned, when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade. Just make the best of the situation. If you don't have all the sugar, just a little tip would do. Just to sweeten it up. So, you know,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
would be, yes, that would be my little 2 cents. The persons who are overthinking and
Yeah.
worried and nervous, just say a quick prayer and go.
And
Go
go for it.
brave.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Better to try than to not try at all.
Correct.
Jen, I want to talk to you a little bit before we go because the clock is ticking. My God. Yesterday, the Miss Supranational organization has officially launched their Community Service Initiative, the CSI. And that initiative is called From the Ground Up. And what's interesting is that just about a week or two ago, you girls officially released to the public some information about your Supra social responsibility projects. Very timely, yeah?
Yes. How so?
Very, very timely. And we had no clue that this is what was coming. This CSI initiative really is part of the the grounding, so to speak, of the Miss Supranational brand and a real teasing out of what the DNA of the brand looks like and sounds like and how it's supposed to be lived out in every country, you know? Share with your fans and your friends and your viewers a little bit about your social responsibility project in Valencia.
Okay, so my Supra-Influencer challenge that I did, if I'm not mistaken, either a week back,
Mm-hmm.
we had to adopt a charity that was nearest and dearest to us, and
Right.
I chose, yes, and I chose the foundation, the nonprofit foundation, Create Better Minds. And I went into detail why I chose it, because it mainly deals with mental health and disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Now, anyone could be suffering or battling with mental health illness. It doesn't have a visible
A
sign.
look, right.
Yeah. So it could be your neighbor, your pastor, your brother, it could be anyone. The thing about it is, sadly, it kills eventually. It, if not treated, it will affect your whole psyche. The way you
Mm-hmm.
act, think, feel. You sometimes don't feel like doing the things you normally do. If you're a person who move in routines, you just start falling out one by one. Some persons, for some, they sleep a lot, they always tired, they
Mm-hmm.
always, you know, feeling like they don't have energy, or they don't want to get up out of bed. There are so many signs. For some, they withdraw themselves, they don't feel like talking, but it's something that's really serious, and I want to start here in my home area of Valencia and go to persons, talk to them about my charity I want to set up, and see if we can get a little movement going. If
Mm-hmm.
if it's like for at least once in the month, we wear green jerseys because that's the color of
Color
the
of mental
band.
health,
Yes,
right.
correct. If we could, hopefully, I will see how many persons could be on board
Mm-hmm.
at least one day in the month, every month. I don't believe in the uh, one day in the month to bring awareness. I don't believe in it. That's just my take. I believe that if you're going to go for something, do it consistent. Consistency is the key,
Mm-hmm.
because if the reality is, we tend to forget. We tend to forget a lot.
Yeah.
So we might start off hot and sweaty and pumped and excited about it. I'm not saying that persons or anyone, I'm not discrediting anyone, but I'm just saying that that's the custom.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency, that's what I would like to do. I would like to at least for once every month get persons in green, do a walk, do a live or whatever. It shouldn't be inexpensive, because social media, you can use social media to get the message across to the world, So I would like to start with my home base
Mm-hmm.
first.
Yeah,
Right?
sure. Because charity begins
Yeah,
at home, and it's
correct.
important to grow. You start small and you learn to creep before you can walk. One of the beautiful things that I'm very proud of in terms of what we've been doing with the organization is by offering some business coaching, so that for those of you who are interested in either your own startups, your own startup businesses, or something that's more social and entrepreneurial, it may be a charity or the likes, you have a fundamental and basic idea of what are the key foundational stones, so to speak, that you need to have in order to develop this brand. Because exactly what you said, um, it should not be costly. It should not be too labor intensive, but you also need to plan for succession. You need to plan for sustainability. You need to have a good understanding of what the identity of it is, who your target market is, who are the people you hope to get involved, all of that. And so with your business training, it's really going to help you to take this brainchild that you have and this passion that's in your heart for mental health and to really build something that could be impactful and long lasting in your community. And it does not have to be big. Something growing doesn't have to necessarily grow in size, but it can grow in quality. It can grow in effect. But the truth is, mental health is already such a very huge, huge area. And there is so much of information out there. And there are so many people, as you've highlighted, living with mental health issues because it affects people in different people in different ways. Right. And it looks differently. It's just an analogy, the color of mental health, so to speak, would look different on each skin tone, just to use that language. And it's important for those of us who are in the work to really become educated and aware of the topic of mental health, because it's lives we're talking about,
Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead, love.
As you say, it's lives that we're talking about. I know most persons by now are probably aware of the not so recent incident that occurred with George Floyd, whose life was innocently taken from him.
Yes.
Due to a Minneapolis policeman who refused to act humane, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? Unfortunately, it's I don't want to say a sad thing. We know it's a sad event, but it's very distasteful, because I'm not sure if you had a chance to see the video. Most persons probably saw it by now. My question is, what answer you possibly have as to why you use your knee with such excessive force to suffocate another human being when he was unarmed, one, when he was cooperative, two, it was harmless.
So in the world, let's take an intellectual approach to this, right?
Sure.
So when we're trying to work out right and wrong in terms of morality and in terms of ethics, there's a fundamental question that you always have to take into consideration, which is the intent. Yeah? What was the intent? And so in cases of murder or abuse or any of those types of ills, you always ask, okay, well, this was the end result, but what was the intent of it? Was it intended to happen, or did it happen as a mistake, so to speak? So you asking me a very direct question about what could, and here the words you're using, what could lead a man to do X, Y, and Z? Well, let me tell you. When you apply all forms of the understanding of what social justice is, when you apply every single type of religious moral compass, whatever you believe in, whatever divine God you believe in, fundamentally, the preservation of human life is the common thread that knits humanity together. So to answer your question very directly, Jhenique, it is unfortunate that I have to say this, but hate is what did that. And it may not, sorry, but it may not have been, I'm probably going to get nailed to the cross again for saying this, but it may not have been hate for that particular manner. It could have been hate for another Black person or for what that Black person represents. Because pain and hate and dissent and envy and jealousy is a language. And unfortunately, the end result of that language sometimes, if not most times, it's death, and the death of the innocent. And why this is so painful for all of us and for many people who are guided by some kind of moral compass is because it was done to an innocent man. And it's been happening to innocent people because these people, Black people, Afro-Americans, are now beginning to feel targeted. Yeah? And so, you ask yourself as a Black woman, can you comfortably, with your hair wrapped up, with your Black melanin skin, can you get up? And let's talk this really, truly, Jhenique. Can you comfortably, if you were to win this pageant, and you have to travel through New York, yes? Or you have to travel to one of the American states or to Europe, and you have to disembark a plane, and you have to take public transportation and sit among people who may feel indifferently about you when you've done nothing to them. Are you going to be walking and living your life in fear?
No.
And that's, well, the truth is, there are people who do. And that's why people are crying out. That's why there is an uprising.
And I think it's because they're not feeling as though justice has been served, because
Correct.
it's not, it's like you're beating me constantly.
Constantly.
That's what I'm feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I get from it.
I was saying to one of your super sisters in a chat earlier, this almost feels like a form of modern day slavery.
Yeah,
And
it is.
it is. And it
Once she has
also,
quality.
on one side of the coin, it feels like modern day slavery, where nothing has changed, like there has been no abolition, because we're still living in the same system that oppresses not only the African man, not only the Black man, but it oppresses every person of color. It oppresses every person who lives on the margin. And then you have on the other side of that, almost a sense of modern day martyrdom, where you have hundreds of thousands of people of different creeds, colors, races, and ethnicities who are marching in protest, which is their right to do, and who feel as though they are willing to even sacrifice their lives because they
So
want
what
their
you
voice
call,
to be heard.
yeah. And the
So,
thing is, sorry.
no, go ahead.
And the thing is, when I turn on my television, they're protesting, but the protest has been expanding quickly, so
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what was actually interesting too, they mentioned that, it's getting really violent, it's violent. And
Mm-hmm.
I was scrolling on Facebook, and I saw someone bashing, that community, the
Yeah.
Afro-American community, and saying that, you all are vandalizing, who have been vandalizing. But you can't really pinpoint. You can't pinpoint because it's a variety of ethnic
Sorts
backgrounds
of
that
people.
are supporting the movement. So you can't say that this particular community is doing that or being violent, or you can't really point fingers.
Well, I think in every mix of what is before our naked eyes are also those who are just mischief makers and who are piggybacking on on a real diehard issue just to be stupid, to be quite honest. I really think there are lots of people who are in these protests just because, oh my God, well, it will be masked as. And so I'm going to use this very noble protest to do something illegal, you know? But, there are so many lenses that we need to look at this with, because there is no one lens to look through rather. And very fundamentally, I think for both of us and for all of us listening in on this conversation, It comes down to something very, very personal to each one of us, is how
Indeed.
can you, me, and the people that I live with, the people in our communities, because all of us are living in this. We're living in it. Let's call a spade a spade. We are living in an environment where there is racism, where there is prejudice, where there is classism, where people are discriminated because of their age, because of their gender identity, their sexual orientation, their religious persuasion, their political affiliation. There are all types of biases.
And when we could admit to it, that's when the change could come.
There we
Because
go.
persons are living in denial. And
Mm-hmm.
let's not fool ourselves, it's
Mm-hmm.
very obvious. So
Yes.
the sooner persons could admit to it, and the
Yeah.
persons, I mean, persons on that level,
Yeah.
they address with it
Yeah.
in the correct way.
Correct. Correct.
That's how I feel.
I want to
And
ask you, Jen, just before we begin to wrap our segment, I want to ask you to send a message, because I know you're a praying woman,
right,
and I know that you're an intelligent woman. And maybe some people need to hear from, and I don't get me wrong when I say this, people, please, but I think sometimes the message needs to come from someone who they can visually identify with.
right.
As a Black woman, as a Afro-Trinbagonian woman, and as a woman of color who lived through this, what do you say to your brothers and your sisters?
Don't get discouraged because the odds will always be against you. What I will encourage you to do is to continue clothing yourself with love, because love covers a multitude of sin. And not, I don't want you all to take this the wrong way, but if someone offends you, it is you cross your path, what have you,
Mm-hmm.
treat him with love.
Yeah.
Treat him with love. You will have no idea how he will be so baffled as to why he or she would not be able to sleep. It 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 will just confuse them. I don't know what else it might do, but it might even cause them to change. Who
Right.
knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Because it has happened to me. Persons dealt with me unfairly numerous times.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it even I am shocked
Hmm.
within myself that I forgive that person,
Yes. Yeah.
because holding on to that hate, you might become just like that other person.
And I'm so humbled to hear you say that, because one of the things I've learned in my own spiritual journey, and in growing into maturity, because I haven't stopped growing,
Right.
is that the healing and the forgiveness that we so desire for the world, one, it starts with my own personal healing. It starts with me being able to forgive myself, to forgive the people who have hurt me, and to forgive in advance the people who will hurt me, because we are not immune to prejudice. We are not immune to pain and to segregation, etc. We're not immune to it because we're human. But I think what makes us different and what sets us apart, and I really trust that this is a message that people, I hope, might be able to take away despite the depth of pain,
Mm-hmm.
is that the love that you're talking about and the forgiveness that you're asking people to find the courage to do is not for the other person.
It's
It's for
actually for me.
yourself.
Correct.
It's for yourself.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
And I just want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually one of the reasons why I entered the competition, right? Because persons have lost that fellow feeling for that brotherly love. Persons are idle. Persons are it's is just lost. So I wanted to be that example,
Hmm.
touching as many or as little, how much ever,
Yeah.
that life that I can by continuing to be kind, be loving, and just
Yes.
displaying that type of agape love, because persons have forgotten that type of love, that
Yes.
brotherly love, that just natural affection for your other
The
being.
other. Yeah. Sure.
Hmm.
Sure. I am so happy that I'm so happy you said that. I want to be able to bottle this conversation in a jar and put it in a time capsule, because you know what's interesting about it, Jhenique, is that this conversation is timeless. The great the great advocates of the world, the Martin Luther King, the Mahatma Gandhis, the Mother Teresas, the Nelson Mandelas, the Malala Yousafs. These people have said this. We've said it in
Mm-hmm.
different languages, in different continents, in different ways, and guess what? We're living through it now. And
Mm-hmm.
5 generations after us, Jen, when we have our own grandchildren, it's going to still be relevant. And that means, I mean, if it means that it's still going to be relevant, it means that every single day that we breathe, we need to be renewing our commitment to kindness, our renewing our commitment to showing mercy and to extending love even when it hurts the most, because that's when it means something, not when it's so glorified and it's rose
Correct.
petals falling. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to mean something when it hurts you the most, and it tears at your heart because other people don't understand it. They don't love you back in return. They don't forgive you in
Mm-hmm.
return, and that's okay. That's okay. Your job, my job, is not to change the world, and I think that's one of the big misconceptions of anything charitable. That's not our job. Our job is to live authentically and to love humbly and to be for others what others could not have been for us. And the more we do that, it's likely to have a ripple effect.
Correct. If not
That's
all, at least one.
one, yeah,
Mm.
one. You know, that's how we change the world, one life at
Yeah,
a time,
that's it with us.
starting with us. So I had to change me, how I think, how I hear, how I just see Jhenique, because Jhenique knows big and she head big. It starts
And I'm
with me.
proud. Mm.
Jen, this has been so very warming. Thank you so very much for spending this time with us and with your friends and your fans and your supporters online. Before we go, tell us, where can we find Jhenique on social media, and how can we support you?
Okay, that's really simple because I don't have a lot of handles. I'm mainly on my IG, which is at Jhenique Joseph, Jhenique at Miss Supranational Finalist 2020. And that's on IG, and on my Facebook. I have a page titled the same thing, same name, Jhenique at Miss Supranational 2020 Finalist. You can
Nice.
find me there, and don't be afraid, don't be a stranger. Click like, watch the videos, because there are a wealth of information on the page. So
Very good.
till next time.
Very good. Very good. Well, Jen, you've been a gem. Continue to work hard, continue to pace yourself, to steady yourself, to ground yourself, to be open to the experiences that's before you, and take a dose of your own medication and make sure that you love somebody tenderly. And let's change the world one person at a time. Yeah?
Sure. And thanks much again for having me
You're
as
most
well.
welcome.
Thank you.
So,
I just
guys, go ahead.
wait,
Go
wait,
ahead.
wait, wait,
Yes?
now, there's no. And you can go also across to the page at Miss Supranational, TNT, and like and follow. So don't forget, most importantly, check out their page and join our Supra family.
Well, there you have it, guys. She actually just wrapped my segment for me because I was just about to tell you if you want to join this journey with us and walk that golden path all the way to Poland, where we can actually touch the beauty of that crown, you can follow us on all of our social media handles. It's at Miss Supranational TT. And you can also email us if you're interested in supporting some of our work, whether it's financially or otherwise. Our email is crownsandSashes868 at gmail.com. Our telephone numbers are on our social media links, and we are reachable. This has been another episode of Mastering the Live, and we've been chatting with Jhenique Joseph, our representative in the Miss Supranational Trinidad and Tobago pageant. She represents the community of Valencia. I am Stephen Jones, National Director. Thank you so very much, and wishing you a safe and productive week ahead.
Bye.
Bye.